Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's lesson. We will continue to work with fractions on a number line today. Our learning target is I can place improper fractions and mixed numbers on a number line. So today's number lines will eventually grow to larger than 1. But for now, let's take a look at this number line. This number line looks a lot like yesterday's number line. It starts at 0. It, so far as we know, ends at 1. And it's broken up into some unlabeled parts. And when we count those parts, 1, 2, 3, we see that on this number line, we were talking about thirds. So your first job today is going to be to label each of the number lines that you work with. Let's do that now. Let's label this number line now. I'm going to go ahead and use black for this. And so 0 would be 0 thirds. Here we'd have 1 third, and then 2 thirds, and then 1 would be 3 thirds. So far, this has been a review of the previous lesson. But this number line continues past 1. Look at that. Now we see we have from 1 to 2. So how do we label these additional thirds? Well, using improper fractions, we simply count on. So we stopped at 3 thirds, which is equal to 1. So what comes after 3? That's right, 4 thirds. And then 5 thirds. And then 2 is 6 thirds. And actually, this number line goes all the way up to 7 thirds. And if we want a little clearer picture of that, let's zoom out a little bit here. Let's take a look at this part of the number line. Right? Actually, let me go ahead and bring that up. I'll bring this up. There we go. Let's take a look at this part of the number line. We see that we have, all right, hold on. We see that we have our 1, 2, 3 thirds that make up one whole. And then we have one more third. So we have one whole plus a third. So that's 3 thirds plus one more gives us 4 thirds. Now what that also leads to is the other way to name these numbers larger than 1. Mixed numbers are numbers that contain both a whole number part and a fractional part. And we use them to name numbers larger than 1. So let's take a look here at this number larger than 1, 4 thirds. All right. We have so far one whole, that's 3 thirds. And so we can label 4 thirds with a 1. I'll use a different color for that. Let's use blue. We can say this is 1. Oh, that's not blue. There we go. 1 and one more third. So it's 1 and a third. So now we have a number that has a whole number part and a fraction part. And it counts up 1 whole plus 1 third is 1 and a third. And 1 and a third, 1 and a third and 4 thirds are the same number. Notice they take the same location on the number line. They are equivalent names. So we can continue on using mixed numbers and label the rest of this number line. 5 thirds is the same as 1 and 2 thirds. So we have the 1 here plus 1, 2 more thirds. And 1 and 2 thirds and 5 thirds are equivalent names. They are the same number. They take the same location on the number line. We can even use a mixed number to name 2. If we wanted to name 2 as a mixed number, we could say it's equal to 1 and 3 thirds. Because we have one whole plus 1, 2, 3 more thirds. Now, 1 and 3 thirds is not a typical name for 2, and we don't generally use it. 2 is much simpler, and so we use it much more frequently. But 1 3/3 is a correct alternative name for 2. And notice 1 3/3, 2 6/3 all take the same spot on the number line. That means they are all equivalent numbers. And we could count on even further from 2 and name 7/3. 7/3 would be 2 1/3, because we have the 2 plus 1 more third. And 2 1/3 and 7/3 are equivalent names. They are equal numbers. So this is how we name numbers on a number line using both improper fractions, which are down here, and mixed numbers, which are up here. Mixed numbers. All right, so there are directions here. We skipped them at the beginning, but that's okay. The directions say, mark the location of 6/3. Well, now that we have labeled our number line, we can go ahead and see that 6/3 is right here. So I'm going to mark it with a different symbol. Let's mark it with a green star. Oh, that's not green. There we go. A green star. All right. Now let's look at the next number line. The next number line, it also goes way past 1. This one goes all the way to, well, past 3. So the first job is to figure out the fractional names for these pieces. We must count. So we're going to do what we did yesterday in the previous lesson. We're just going to look at 0 to 1 and count. Okay, let's do that. We're going to start at 0 and count 1, 2, 3, 4. So this number line is broken into fourths, and we can begin to label those fourths. Let's do that now. We got 0 fourths. We have 1 fourth, 2 fourths, 3 fourths, and then 1 is 4 fourths. So now we have our 0 fraction. We have, remember, 0 fractions. We have our proper fractions. We have our whole fraction, but we have more number line to label. So let's keep counting on to use improper fractions to name these numbers bigger than 1. Right? We got 5. Oh, we got 5 fourths, 6 fourths, 7 fourths, and 2 is 8 fourths. And we can keep going. Check this out. This number line goes way past 2. We can count 9 fourths, 10 fourths, 11 fourths, 12 fourths, 13 fourths. Oh my gosh, how far does this go? Wow, 14 fourths and 15 fourths. Wow, look at that. Let's zoom out and check out this number line. We've labeled all the pieces correctly using improper and proper fractions, as well as a 0 and some whole fractions. Okay, so how do we label this number line using mixed numbers as well? Well, we're going to zoom up here to the numbers greater than 1. And now that we're talking about fourths, that fractional part of our mixed number name will include fourths. So here we have 1 plus a fourth. That'll give us 1 and 1 fourth. That is the same number as 5 fourths. They are equivalent. They take the same place on the number line. Then we'd have, let's see here, after 1 and 1 fourth, do you know what we'd have next? Yeah, 1 and 2 fourths. What comes next? Yep, 1 and 3 fourths. And we could use 1 and 4 fourths. That's the same as 2, which is the same as 8 fourths. They're all equivalent, right? So if they take the same spot of the number line, these numbers are all the same numbers. 7 fourths, 1 and 3 fourths, they are equivalent. We could keep counting on, couldn't we? Let's do that. Let me go back to my yellow ink. We have, let's see, 2 and 1 fourth. And then 2 2/4, 2 3/4. And if we wanted to call 3 2 4/4, we could. It's not common. We use it only, I guess, probably when we subtract mixed numbers, which we'll get to much, much later on. But it's very uncommon, but it's correct technically. And all of these numbers are equivalent. So if they take the same place in the number line, they are the same number. 10/4 is equal to 2 2/4. 2 3/4 is equal to 11/4. 2 4/4 and 3 12/4 are all the same number. And we could keep going on. Do you know what would come next? Try labeling these next 3 spots. Go ahead. All right, did you say the next number was 3 1/4? And then 3 2/4? And then 3 3/4? And 3 3/4 is equal to 15/4. All of these numbers are equal. Let's zoom out here and take a look at this number line. Boy, oh boy, look at that. Now, there are some directions, right? The directions say mark the location of 8/4. So now that this entire number line is labeled, we can quickly see that 8/4 is right here. So like the last problem, I'll use a green star to mark that location. All right, your work today is going to be very similar. You are going to get a bunch of blank number lines, kind of like this. You are going to label each and every piece using all 4 kinds of fractions, using zero fractions when necessary, using proper fractions, using whole fractions, and using improper fractions. All right, and when you're done, your work will look kind of similar to mine. It'll also have, hopefully in a different color on top, equivalent names using mixed numbers as well. And then, of course, you'll be asked to find a location, which you'll mark with some sort of clear mark. All right, let's get to work.